Everything in Star Wars has a story. Every character, every weapon, every planet, every ship. It has one of the most involved taxonomies of any movie universe ever. There are visual dictionaries, museums, a wiki site, all dedicated to the origins of the characters. There are rules for what belongs in this universe. It has a certain sound, a certain look, a certain feel, and it's easy to feel like this galaxy has always had this distinct, clear identity. But if you go back,
I have a bad feeling about this.
All the way back to one of the very first Star Wars spin-offs, that really wasn't the case.
Come on, Mala, let's see a little smile. Come on. There, that's better.
This is the Star Wars Holiday Special, a TV variety show that aired on CBS on November 17th, 1978. It tells the story of Chewbacca's journey home to his family to celebrate a holiday called Life Day.
Happy Life Day. Life Day. Try to enjoy your Life Day.
The entire cast of the first Star Wars film, which debuted in 1977, made an appearance. There is a lot going on here. Chewbacca's dad, Itchy, watches virtual reality softcore porn starring singer Diane Carroll.
Oh, we are excited, aren't we?
The Golden Girls actress Bea Arthur plays a cantina bartender. The American rock band Jefferson Starship performs in a hologram music video. And the Carol Burnett Show's Harvey Korman plays a cross-dressing cooking show host.
Having fun, all right?
It's bad. Incomprehensibly bad.
It's the Star Wars Holiday Special. I wonder what would...
Can we cut tape? Cut tape now. This is not allowed. You promised. Nobody is allowed to mention that.
No, you can't. It's not funny. It's so bad, and I mean this kindly if George sees it. It's so bad it's not funny.
Do you remember making this Christmas special? I think it was 1978. No, you don't remember it? So it doesn't exist in your...
No, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist?
No.
What if I were to tell you that I had a little piece of tape right now?
But to a large extent, the Star Wars universe has been shaped and explored through spin-offs just like this, through novels, comics, and games outside of the movies. And the Holiday Special is a fascinating glimpse into that universe before it became codified, when we were all still figuring out what Star Wars was. When Star Wars first came out, a lot of people expected it to flop. At the time, Hollywood was dominated by gritty dramas with morally ambiguous heroes. Even the most successful science fiction films were slow to turn a profit. Then came Star Wars, a good versus evil space opera fantasy film inspired by Flash Gordon serials and Japanese samurai epics. It was a hard sell. Even getting theaters to screen it was a challenge. Fox Studios had to force theaters that wanted the highly anticipated movie The Other Side of Midnight to screen Star Wars as well. Then things went a little differently than expected. The movie had an 18-month run in theaters, ultimately grossing over $460 million. It became one of the highest-grossing films in history. During the 1977 holiday season, the Star Wars craze caught everyone by surprise, so much that toy companies had to sell action figure IOUs.
So for about $9, you buy a cardboard envelope. The recipient mails a certificate to the manufacturer, who will send the dolls later.
As production on the second film progressed through 1978, director George Lucas wanted to keep Star Wars on everybody's minds through the next holiday season. So he approved CBS to produce the Holiday Special with a dream team of variety show creators and a budget of about $1 million. But making a song and dance version of a visually stunning space opera was a tricky combination from the start.
It's inexplicable to put those two genres together.
That's Lenny Rips. He was brought in as a co-writer to work on the Wookiee scenes.
I suspect that there are a lot of Star Wars fans who hate me. But you see, at the time, I didn't feel the pressure because it was not where it is now.
And that led to lines like this.
Boy, am I glad to see you folks. Well, how are my favorite Wookiees today? Why all the long, hairy faces?
There simply wasn't a precedent for what the expanded world of Star Wars should look like.
I think it was early on enough that you could play with it. And you can't play with it now. You were still able to have fun with Star Wars, to look at it as something that's not so culturally important, that not to adhere to every rule makes you a heretic.
After the special aired, with Lucas's name nowhere to be seen in the credits, it was never released again. Lucas allegedly said that he'd smash every copy with a sledgehammer if he could.
He has disavowed and disowned Star Wars Holiday Special. I mean, actively. It was very, very important to him to have control of the universe and he lost control of the universe here.
This bizarre TV special was a rocky first foray into what the world of Star Wars looked like outside of the movies, but it certainly wasn't the last. There have since been hundreds of Star Wars books, video games, comic books, and TV episodes. Some of them were critical and commercial successes, like Timothy Zahn's Thrawn novels or the Shadows of the Empire multimedia project, and their vision fell in line with the universe Lucas had created. Others, like comics with Jackson, a green anthropomorphized rabbit, or straight-to-TV movies featuring Sharal, a shape-shifting witch, didn't exactly feel like they belonged in Star Wars. All of this material became known as the Expanded Universe. It contributed to building out this massive fictional world in its own way. But it was messy. There was a lot of material of varying quality and contradicting plot points, like clashing backstories about Boba Fett's real name. So in the early 2000s, Lucasfilm developed a continuity database called the Holocron. It divided the canon into a hierarchy, with the movies at the top and things like the holiday special on a lower priority level. Disney's $4 billion acquisition of Lucasfilm in 2012 changed all that. The production company put together a team responsible for giving the cinematic universe a simpler, more cohesive continuity. Only the original films and prequels, plus the Clone Wars movie and TV show, were considered official storylines. Everything else in the expanded universe was branded as legends and deemed non-canon to the franchise. For many fans, that felt like losing a richly detailed world. Today, the vast majority of the Star Wars wiki articles are about things that aren't considered part of the official Star Wars world anymore. But even though these stories aren't recognized like they used to be, the impact of the ideas behind them can be seen today. The current trilogy is telling new stories, but many themes, like Han and Leia's son turning to the dark side, Luke's Jedi Academy, and a new version of the Empire, all have their roots in the expanded universe. More than 40 years after the first release, Star Wars hasn't stopped evolving, and the massive, messy body of work that lives outside the movies continues to shape the way we perceive that world.
So loyal to George, and I owe him so much. He at one time said, would you consider playing an Obi-Wan type character handing Excalibur down to the next generation? I said, when would that be? And at the time he said around 2011.